So what I want to think about now, and if you turn to the next page in your booklet, is kind of thinking about what are the stages of development as a TA, and this kind of parallels what are the stages of development as an RA, as a research assistant, kind of going through your paces in graduate school as well. So you can probably draw parallels to both. But I think in each case, and this is kind of adapted from Nyquist and Wolf, who have a really nice article on these developmental stages. But thinking about, we all start in kind of the senior learner category. As we come into grad school, we've been very successful in undergrad. We were good in our classes. Maybe we did a little research before. I got a good start. That's why I made it to Stanford, right? So we're good at that, but now we have to transition and be independent researchers and independent teachers. And so how do we make that first leap? What are we thinking about when we first step into a classroom for the very first time? That's going to be a lot different than after I get some practice. Okay, I've had a class or two under my belt. I've taught before. How do my needs start to change? And then finally, our goal is to move kind of more into the colleague arena, right, where we're actually practicing instructors and researchers. We might be mentoring others in these categories now. Okay, so we're all kind of moving through these processes. But the other thing to remember is, for one thing, maybe for teaching chemistry, I might be here. But if I'm trying to teach about economics or something else, I will be way back here again, right? Or maybe in research, I'm in different spots at different times. So all of us kind of keep transitioning back and forth between these topics depending upon where we're at in a given moment. Okay? So as mentors, what you guys need to be thinking about is, where is my mentee at? Where is my TA right now? Okay? In this chain. What kind of skills and teaching goals might they have in each area? And then, what are their expectations of me as they move through this process? Because that's going to change as I kind of grow in my abilities, right? But let's start over here. What ideas did you guys come up with? Senior learner, any pieces? You look like you got a good thought.
Well, one thing that we were talking about was just being able to take criticism or take feedback. And so as you progress from senior learner to senior colleague, one of the important things is just be able to learn from your mistakes and be able to self-reflect.
Self-reflect, and that's even a big one. I'd probably start to put that even down towards this area.
Yeah, well,
so
it applies to all three categories.
Yeah.
Self-reflection starts. You have to be able to keep it up and understand that even when you become a colleague, you still have a lot to learn about yourself.
That's so true. I think, and this is true in research too, right? You find the more you know you don't know things, right? We were talking about that in the back too. Teaching kind of helps you discover that, wait a minute, I didn't understand this quite as well as I thought I did. And now I kind of have to go back and rethink things. So this process of self-reflection is so valuable. And if you can help your TA to do that kind of at any point, that's wonderful. And it probably starts to get more towards the colleague and training side when they start to have the bandwidth to kind of start thinking about this, right? Because maybe when we're in senior learner mode, kind of what do you think is the first thing going through your mind as a TA stepping into a classroom?
Am I going to screw up?
No, you're not going to screw up. This was a fantastic one. Oh, but am I going to? Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay. I was like, you did not screw up. All right. Am I going to screw up? Exactly. Is this going to go okay? You're kind of in survival mode, right? You're just trying to get through it. Like, okay, I got to at least make it through this section. Okay. What else might you be thinking? Yeah.
I think you're really fixated on just learning the substantive material of the class and sort of avoiding questions you don't know how to answer.
Yeah.
Aren't really ready to think about the pedagogy of how you're going to transmit that information.
Yeah. I like this language. Don't screw up. I think that sums up a lot of it. Like, am I going to not know an answer to a question? Am I going to know all the material correctly? Yeah.
I think when you first starting to teach, there's a tendency to be a little more rigid and over-planned and things.
Yeah.
And because it's scary, right? You don't want to leave, don't leave a single minute open. That would be this horrible abyss into which I'll fall.
struggle with their time management and like spend too much time on things to make up for things when it's not gonna happen.
So true. I think what you will find for many of the TAs that you mentor that are just starting out or consult with is if they're just at the beginning of things, it's often overplanned. They're spending way too much time prepping for things. They're trying to avoid the abyss. They don't want to leave room for questions that they might not know. Okay? So these are all great things to be looking out for. And if your TA is worried about these kind of things, then it's a lot harder for them, as some of you already pointed out, to be even thinking about pedagogy or reflecting on things. They're just trying to get through the day, right? They want to make sure the material's okay, that I'm organized and planned out for section, maybe thinking about an agenda so I can manage my time appropriately. And these are all good things to be thinking about. Perhaps even just presentation skills, right? Public speaking is often an issue for someone just starting out at TAing. If I've never gotten up in front of a room of people before, that can be a really scary thing and really inhibit all the other pieces of teaching. So just overcoming that can be an issue sometimes. What starts to happen, though, as I start to get these pieces under control? Okay. Self-reflection is a big one that hopefully steps into the picture, that we start trying to think about what's going on. And that is really a big piece of senior colleague as well. We really reflect on and use this. What else did you guys have in these kind of upper categories? Yeah.
For the colleague in training, Henry mentioned that it's kind of fun at that point to try some new tricks, right?
Yeah.
I got the basics down on surviving. I want to do a little experiment in class and see if this works.
Cool. Try something new. Okay, I got the basic lecture thing down. Is there something different I can put in there? We begin to start thinking about new approaches.
Yeah, like a refinement, I guess, and becoming more efficient with that.
Yeah. So now I'm not over planning everything. I kind of have a sense of what I need to know going into the classroom. I can be more efficient with my time. This is a big thing you might be helping them out with. Okay, it's okay if I don't know everything. What do I really need to have? Yeah.
I think at that point you're starting to build confidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I did okay. I'm getting through the basics. I'm doing decent at teaching. I've got a little confidence that I can try something new. I can take a little bit of criticism now. I can think about what needs to happen in the classroom. Can I change up a few things? You might be using different approaches, not only different approaches, but kind of encouraging students to participate in class a little more. Here, I was worried about falling into the abyss of not knowing a question. Now, my try something new might be, I want to open it up to questions. I want to expose myself a little more. Right? So you might be encouraging more student participation and input, right? So what might be happening then, now that I'm starting to do these things, what starts happening as we transition here? Probably more of a lot of these things, right? More reflection, more.
The focus is really on student learning.
Yeah. Your focus is shifting, and it's kind of doing this through this whole spectrum now. But really, rather than thinking about what do the students think about me, do they like me, am I doing okay? Now I start to think about what's going on in the student's head. Are they learning things? Is this the best approach for them? Okay, so we focus on student learning more. Any other pieces? Yeah.
I think getting to know your students and the student types. I feel like at Stanford, the types are probably a little bit more homogeneous and that everyone kind of wants to be there and it's very driven. But if you're teaching at like community college, there's going to be a lot of different attitudes towards why they're there, like learning what exactly those are so that you can reach those people.
Right, right. So knowing what types of students are in your classroom. Do they have drastically different learning styles that you need to account for? Okay. Do they have different things that motivate them to be there? Okay, so how are you going to motivate them? Was that, did I steal yours? No. Okay.
feel like one of the more advanced teaching skills that takes a long time to get to is a kind of metacognition, where you've mastered this very advanced skill, where you're able to know it so well that you're able to break it down to the process by which you arrive at that skill, so that you're able to put yourself into your student's place and like, okay, what are the potential pitfalls, confusions, and what are the best ways to kind of lead a student to where I am now?
That's a lot of great pieces. Metacognition, but foresee pitfalls, visualize the process. Knowing kind of misconceptions that your students might come in with so that you can address those, confront them. Okay, and if you're seeing the process, then that means you're starting to develop lesson plans really at this point. Really kind of deeper lesson plans. Or even courses at this point, right? There are opportunities on campus where TAs get to take on entire courses by themselves. So maybe you're designing a syllabus now or putting together, a lot bigger type project. Some of you are running courses on TA training, right? So you've really kind of moved to this category of thinking about what's the process of learning how to teach, which is a whole new thing. You've moved from this category of how do I teach to how do I teach someone else to teach, right? Which is another step upon that, okay? Because you're really kind of seeing the process, picking it apart, understanding how we get there, okay? So really quick, just want to kind of jot down one thing. As a mentor now, if your student's in this category, what might they need from you? This side has been a little more quiet. Adam, you got something?
Yeah, learning how to be more independent.
Sure. Kind of helping them to be more independent?
And to gain leadership in the classroom.
Yeah, to gain authority and leadership. I saw one other hand back there. Yeah.
They're working on public speaking skills, maybe role playing with them or move them up to a micro teaching session so they can practice their skills and begin to feel more comfortable in front of a crowd.
Excellent. So at this point, just some practice and feedback is really helpful to kind of building that confidence in the classroom. So micro teaching, I don't know if all of you have done or seen or whatnot, but you're going to see it tomorrow because we're going to do a demo of micro teaching for you. But it's just giving someone even just 5 minutes to do a short presentation in front, like they're doing just a section of their section, okay? And then getting them some quick feedback and tips. So just an opportunity to practice. That's an excellent thing you can do as a mentor. How often do you think you might be meeting with a mentee in this category? Maybe quite regularly, yeah? They might be needing a little more input, and it might not be long meetings, but just checking in a little more regularly. Okay, so they might, well, that's not working. So you might need to check in a little more often. What about as we get to these categories? Yeah.
Or I can envision at the very end, like coming back up again, a senior colleague who's really interested in teaching, they want to have that be more a regular part of his or her daily schedule.
It might come and go, right, depending upon how you're thinking about it. Maybe in this category, you're starting to build some confidence now. They may need a little less input from you. Maybe they're coming to you more than you checking in with them at this point. Okay? So they might come to you. Okay? What resources might you throw at them at this point? Or not throw at them, but is there any other pieces that you think? What would they need? Robin, yeah.
They might want to see more different things. They might want to sit in on different instructors teaching or think about different ways to kind of grow their toolkit.
Yeah, so you might want to invite them to one of your lectures. Or someone else you know is good. Yeah.
And it also might be helpful at this point for them to see themselves if they want to tweak any kind of classroom conduct to make their lectures smoother.
Yeah.
So they could do a video consultation with
That's awesome. They might want to see themselves at this point. So there's no better feedback than seeing yourself in action, because that's about as honest as it can be, right? So CTL does offer video observations where event services like There Come Today will come out, videotape it for you. You'll get a chance to sit with a consultant or a mentor, kind of talk through it together and see what's going on. An excellent way to get feedback, and we'll do that tomorrow too.
I think it's important for the mentor to realize the transition, or maybe even point it out from senior learner to colleague in training, because the students may not themselves know that they're ready for the next step. And so maybe to challenge them and just recognize that transition.
Yeah. Like we said, what does a good mentor do? They kind of push you a little bit, challenge you a little bit. So help them see that. Hey, you are growing here. Remember when we set goals at the beginning where you were just trying to learn how to present? Now you're an excellent presenter, and you're starting to think about some reflection in your classroom, or we're observing videos together. You're moving forward. So let's push you a little bit. What else can you do? Okay, awesome. And then as a senior colleague, you guys mentioned maybe you start meeting more regularly again. You might just want to chat with someone who also teaches. And so now you're not always just giving advice, but you're kind of becoming peers at this point, right? And so this may just be an honest heart-to-heart of, well, let's talk about teaching a little bit, right? So you want to connect with colleagues. What other pieces did, one more piece that, yeah.
I think when you're a senior colleague, you have to work a lot harder to put yourself in the student's shoes. And you become more and more distant from that first-time learning experience. And so instead of just being all up in your own head, like, it's kind of really hard to remember what it feels like to be that new person.
Yeah. I'm sure we all might have seen an example from time to time where someone gets so far in the senior colleague arena, they've totally lost sight of what it's like to be in this one, right? And so we got to keep working to keep track of that, of, okay, I know the material really well now, so I'm not as in tune with what might the misconceptions of a student be, because it just all makes sense to me, so why wouldn't they get it, right? So now we've got to work a little harder to realize that. What resources might be helpful in finding out what the students think? Evaluations, student evaluations, and I'm sure in any of these categories that becomes something really useful. But getting feedback from our students is something that will come in all these categories, but the way we use it will probably start to grow, right? So that becomes a really important part to the process. I don't know where to put it because it's everywhere. But we need to get feedback. And as we become more senior in our training, we use that feedback and implement changes more and more, right? Because we're better able to accept that criticism now. We've got the confidence to say, okay, the students really aren't getting it here. What can I do? What process should I change? How can I think about what's going on to fix this? Okay.
So actually then one thing might be the frequency. At the senior level, senior colleague level, you may be getting little feedback, little quick 30-second feedback every class, every session, and doing something with it. Whereas at the early level, you may really not be, it'd be nice to do, but you may not be getting feedback yet. Like you may be getting feedback at mid-quarter and thinking about how to respond to that.
So we will talk about kind of what are options for getting mid-quarter feedback, because there's ways you can do surveys online or in person, and that is really great when you're starting out or moving forward, and you want to continue to do. But as Robin mentioned, maybe as you get older, you start to think about, okay, do I have them do kind of a 1-minute paper at the end of class of what's the muddiest point from this lesson? So I can give feedback to them right away. Or I look through their problem sets and see what was the hardest problem for them. Let's address that next time. So finding ways to get feedback from your students.